So how's your day going? You enjoy the YouTube videos? Well, thank you very much, dude, because, like, that's respect. Thank you very much, man. You know, I used to have a page. I used to have a page a long time ago, man, and had a big following and stuff like that. And I kind of just started over. Actually, it was time to start over, and here we are. You know what I'm saying? So it's actually kind of, refreshing because now I meet the challenges of literally starting fresh or starting over or starting new. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, these years that have gone by have been years for transformation for a lot of people to help themselves understand the things that are going on in their lives, right? You know, the who's, what's, it's, whys, why you shouldn't do that, why you shouldn't be here, why you shouldn't be around these people type of shit. I believe all of us, we go through this very profound realization as we level up. So every time we have awareness, we're aware of something that doesn't serve us, then we go through the process, or when we feel a certain type of way, we go into the process of discovering what that fact actually is and why. Sometimes we have to get away from the situations before we even know why. And sometimes we found out the why and leave the situations. You know what I'm saying? So, that's very opportunistic in that space when you actually talk about it, because it could be here or there depending on the situation. It's a binary thing. It could be here or there. But when we learn how to utilize, or kind of like pick up on what we're receiving on a day-to-day basis, or what the energy is providing for us, we have a way to work with that energy. It's like, when we talk about the folded maps in hand, but this is kind of like, hey, pay attention to what you feel. Hey, pay attention to how you wake up in the morning. Pay attention to your attitude. Pay attention to the way that you look at life, or you're evaluating life at that time, right? In the morning is probably the most important part, dude, because, sometimes when we go to sleep, we don't realize that for whatever reasons, dude, our intuitive selves or our sensitive selves have the ability to pick up energy around us. And sometimes malevolent energy is present. And they like to play in your dreams, you know what I'm saying? They like to whisper in your brain and shit like that, But you can hear things because you're so intuitive and you're so sensitive and you're so aware nowadays that, this is why we tell you the importance of understanding the voices in your head, right? And what discipline requires, because a lot of people could become manic, not realizing that those are just whispers that they heard through the night because they were in their dreams, you know what I'm saying? Because, dream prophecy, just as dream prophecy is real, so is spiritual attacks and the metaphysical and the controlling of dreams or the manipulation of dreams. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to understanding the spiritual self, or being a light warrior in a sense in your own life, to be light in others, you realize that these are some of the things that you start seeing along the way, the more you're on your path, and this has a lot to do with spiritual protection as well. It's just becoming more self-aware of the idea that these things do happen, not necessarily to experience them, but to become more aware of them and allow the truth to reveal itself, through experience or whatever, not to scare the shit out of you, but to help you understand yourself. And the manipulation is what Spirit just said, because believe it or not, there is a grand one. You know what I'm saying? Everything's unfolding, and we're seeing the truth of a lot of things that are happening in our lives right now, right? Especially with, the outside circumstances, war, this and that. We're starting to see this giant upheaval as we look at it. It's like everywhere that you look, you see the truth of something, right? And a lot of people kind of like get misled in the fact they become emotionally involved in what it is that they're pissed off about, because they've seen the truth, not realizing that the truth was meant to be shown to them because they were asking for it, because we needed to see where we were basing our faith in, right? What we were truly believing in one way or another, what we devoted our heart to, or what we believe to exist, or, just be what it is, like be that possibility on a consistent basis. A lot of us are seeing that all those things were basic limitations. And the truth through the last 3 years that has kind of like evolved and grown and shown a lot of the things that are happening right now. This is the truth of what we've known to be real for a very long time. We just couldn't see it. So just like we're going through these personal transformations in our lives, right? The details, the deets, our magic, what we truly are, our sovereignty, our outside circumstances, our physical circumstances from that actual intention are showing us the truth simultaneously, right? So as within, so without. So you realize that all the chaos and the conundrums, or the fights that a lot of people may be having, is because literally the world is manifesting it simultaneously, and you're part of a consciousness that is perpetuating that idea, right? So when you come back into the present moment, you realize that you don't want to perpetuate those kind of ideas in your existence. And then you start focusing on what's important, on what you're passionate about, or where you may have ideas of what you thought about in the past that you never followed through with. You know, these are all the things that are coming up in people's lives about doing shit different and being aware of the changes, because not everything looks like what you thought it was the day before, right? Because things are consistently switching, and based on the choices that we make, they will consistently switch, right? Because now we're in, and this is something that they brought up that my wife has said, is that we're basically in that binary pathways of understanding the yeses and the nos, and the circumstances of the yeses and the nos of the choices that we're making to show us how we manifest in the moment. You know what I'm saying? How this led to this, and this is why this happened, but it will happen no more because now you're aware of it. Now what do you choose to do with this knowledge and wisdom? You know what I'm saying? As an open invitation that now that you've learned your lesson and you see this for what it is, what are you going to do with it? Right? And it's like the universe is literally going like this right now. It's like, hey, okay, this is free pass you've been asking for. What are you going to do with it? You know what I'm saying? This is the one you've been praying for. This is the one you've been working for. This is the one you're devoted to. This is the one you're committed to. What are you going to do with it? Right? So now's not the time to be scared, in a sense. You know, now's not the time to be afraid. Now's not the time to be overly emotional about everything, understanding the purpose that you are being given right now, right? And that changes your focus on everything, because now you have a purpose or a passion driven behind it, knowing that that information is going to help you drive success into your life in places where it didn't have any. You know what I'm saying? The things that you've been putting on the back burner, the things that you haven't thought about, the ideas that literally you want to come to fruition, but haven't been able to get that next step of where you need to go, right? Well, here it is, dude. You know what I'm saying? We got Pluto in the house. You know, make up your mind. Here's the deal. The truth is here. You know what I'm saying? But also, it's also showing a lot of people the fallacy. It's showing them the lies. It's showing them the bullshit. It's distorting them. It's shaking them up on purpose and agitation and bringing out that fire and that clarity and that purification. You know what I'm saying? Like literally these things are coming out of people. And this is where these ideas are coming from. This is where these realizations are coming from. The season is here, you know? You know, like we said before, the season of purification is really fun because, you know, it sounds morbid to some people, but all you're doing is releasing the things that don't serve you. So you almost can convince yourself to be like, okay, well, whatever this is, I'm willing to grind through it because I believe in the purpose here. I believe in the path. I believe in the pathway. I believe that I've been sent. I believe that I've been instructed. I believe that I've been guided. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, I get to love myself along the way and appreciate myself and learn more about myself on this journey through life that we're all taking, right? It's like an open invitation. And when you explain it this way versus the way that we have looked at things before, it shows you what this manipulation actually is. This shows you that you actually do have a pot to piss in, and your free choice and free will is your birthright, and you are engaging in your sovereignty, right? And then the other one is kind of smoky over here because it's just a fucking building with a bunch of machines in it, running a mechanism, running a matrix. You know what I'm saying? Just the fucking same thing that tries to keep you down in one way or another. So in essence, when you look at it from that aspect, you're looking at things that are meant to self-defeat you. You know what I'm saying? To be that self-defeating behavior, whether it's drama, whether it's entertainment, whether it's music, whether it's drinking, whether it's addiction, whether it's alcohol. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could be anything, you know, shoes for that matter. You know what I'm saying? Obsession is real, but we don't realize what the obsession is, how deep the obsession goes, and what we're obsessionate about until we start taking ourselves apart or actually being able to see these things clearly, that it's like, oh man, I've been manipulating myself this whole time because I believe that things were a certain way when they weren't that way. And now I have clarity, you know, about what it actually is instead of what it's not. So what am I going to do with this right now? Am I going to continue to fucking just soak in the emotions that, damn, I can't believe it, I've been had? Or am I going to take this energy, I'm going to alchemize it, and I'm going to do something positive with it, right? Because alchemy is also your birthright, and you have the ability to manipulate energy. This is how you create your environment. This is how your experiences match, and friends, people, places, things have similar vibrational alignments as you. In other words, like y'all got a lot of y'all energy is in common. You know what I'm saying? The energy is in common in one way or another, whether it's the polar opposite or whether it's two peas in a pod and you're doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? All things possible here when it comes to this space, right? And this is that again, the fire is what Spirit is saying, of the moon being conjunct Pluto, and Pluto being, very fast acting and creating change in people's lives through kind of like punctual representation of the truth, right? Some of the shit doesn't feel good. You might be disappointed on your expectations, and that's normal, right? Because those things happen. It's like, damn, this shit didn't work out the way that I wanted to do today. Well, it's in the astrology, right? So don't take it fucking personal, right? But God's showing you another way. And when you emotionally come to terms with the fact that whatever it is didn't work out that way today, tomorrow's a brighter day, because you're walking with the awareness and now the knowledge that, hey, dude, okay, all right, I was supposed to go this way. Well, I was supposed to pivot, and I went straight. You know what I'm saying? And these are the navigations of life. This is our humble asses literally looking at the decisions that we make and taking accountability for them as a spiritual being that we are, right? And the profundity of this knowledge is like, this is basically how the healing process works in most people's lives, explained in detail in an architecture, right? But all these things are happening simultaneously. You guys are learning and growing, and it's something to be appreciative about, and you're passing knowledge, and you're moving on, and you're overcoming things, and you should be proud of yourself in one way or another, because you've made it this far to be able to listen to this message and actually take this message and use the information and utilize it to improve the quality of your life and wherever you're lacking in one way or another. You know what I'm saying? Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I know Jesus loves you too. Thank you very much, sir. And I got this card earlier, the Ten of Pentacles. This is like, when you have the overall perspective, or where you engage in the perspective, you realize through your decisions, or the things that you're looking at or paying attention to, that these things are all right. God is working in my favor. I am working in my favor. I'm paying attention to this. And that's how we start the momentum, especially when we're sluggish or we're looking to get out of a fucking situation that we don't want. We got to turn the wheel in our favor and allow those things to motivate forward, right? This is how manifestation works. And this is more of a practical understanding of how things are working in our lives, right? Because we all want a miracle, we all want to win the lottery, and we all want to live a dream, right? But what the experience to get there is something that we don't necessarily think about, but we go on the journey, and we may gripe about the journey of what it is that we dream about, right? Not realizing that that's kind of like the devotion that you need to have, and the commitment to continue to move forward to get where you want to go. Right? And it might cost the release of some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, it's just a humble understanding, right? It doesn't happen to everybody, but every once in a while, there's something that you need to return that you can no longer hold on to, because everything is meant to flow. Everything is meant to move. So when you have that basic knowledge, you're like, okay, well, this makes sense, dude. If shitty situations are coming up in my life, you know what I'm saying? If these things are coming up in my life, they're coming up naturally for me to discern and do something about it. So that way I'm no longer holding on to it, because they basically presented it to me right there in my face, because I'm feeling it right now, and I'm seeing it because I'm partaking it. And that's beautiful part of this message, That's the kind of like how everything comes to your pinnacle of realization, how that revelation becomes the fire energy, or the alchemization of that negativity that you were holding on to, and becomes something that creates a lot more positivity in your life through construction, through you actually getting your hands dirty with it and enjoying the experience and saving the moment as moment to moment comes up, knowing that you are being guided, knowing that you're being led, feeling the flow, feeling the rhythm, feeling the vibe. You know what I'm saying? Come on, y'all, it's bobsled time is what Spirit said. So, you can be blindly ambitious right now. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people have a lot of good ideas that have been on the back burner. And if you've been looking to do something different or change something, brush your teeth with your left hand instead of your right one type of stuff, well, here's the opportunity to be more self-sustainable or self-employed, if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking to bump up the money in the bank account, or you're looking to fucking start turning things over and selling things or building things or creating things, now's the time to do it. This is the energy for it. This is, you know what I'm saying? And whatever gripes you carry along the way, just understand that those gripes are just necessary release of the pain that you've been holding on to for so long, right? And you literally create your best highest self through exploration, through experience, and you literally enjoy the journey and the flow of life and the rhythm of creation is what they say. Salah. So with that being said, and I hope you enjoyed the collective message